myth, the man, the legend for Giants. Can single-handedly win and single-handedly lose games for the team, depending on his picks. Priorities yesterday, ROCCAT went for the first pick, Rumble, and Giants gave up the Kalista. Not going to make that same mistake today, banning 2 ADCs against ROLZ.
Yeah, Giants' bot lane was struggling yesterday. They were a little bit behind in a 2v2 and then got dove over and over again. Now they're saying, hey, we want Adryh and GODFRED to be comfortable. He will have to work without his favorable Morgana in the bot lane on the support though.
Yeah, no surprises there. The 2 most banned champions against Giants, Krepo, 14 times in 16 games is Jax, and 9 times in 16 games for Morgana. Brief hover before locking in the last remaining AD carry, the sort of next tier in Corki.
Yeah, Corki just fits so well in a lot of compositions, and you can lane okay with him. You can get to level 6, and then you can choose to keep laning with 2 men in the bot lane, or you can, free up your support and then roaming. He fits poke styles, early power spike. The only problem, quote unquote, Corki has that his late game isn't as strong as other carries. He actually doesn't do well into the Caitlyn matchup though that RallZ played yesterday, so that could be a trick in their sleeves.
Of course, ROCCAT, they did get some early towers. They get some CS on MrRallez Caitlyn. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to overcome the power that Fnatic had built up. Reminder, we are on 513. Tom Kench will be enabled next week as he's a new champion, so teams need to get used to him. Zed is the only disabled one for this week. Couple seconds left. All of the junglers really are still up and available.
Yep.
Jankos is currently trending towards that Rek'Sai.
Yeah, and they seem to lock in the Nautilus as well. Nautilus on this patch obviously is a flex pick. You can go both in the top lane Nautilus as well as a support role. However, with the likes of Thresh still open, Alistar still open, I don't see why you would lock it in as a support immediately. So there's a good chance that Steve is looking to play this and that Vander is waiting for the counter pick support to put some more pressure, because that's one of the lanes you can definitely hit 2v2 in a normal laning situation is Giants' bot lane.
You also know that on the side of ROCCAT, Vander's got, in my opinion, a deeper, more effective champion pool with multiple champions. You did actually a segment on his Thresh from last week with some great plays, so we'll see what ROCCAT decide. A lot of tankiness on both squads with Gragas and Alistar now for Giants.
Yeah, and with this rotation, they have the dive pressure already, so if they want to really hit that early power spike from Corki and speed up the early to mid game, they can start diving towers with Unbreakable Will. In addition to that, they don't give away much information. If one side locks Rek'Sai, it is not unlikely that the other side picks Gragas. If you just fill a generic Alistar support, you are not telling ROCCAT what do we want to do with our composition. So ROCCAT is a little bit in the dark right now, and they will have to reveal either their mid laner or whether they're flexing the Nautilus. So this puts them behind a little bit in the champs like pacing. However, Steve playing that Nautilus, it's a bit tanky. So that was one thing that speaks against him, because usually I like him on a split pusher where he can battle together with Jankos, get him ahead. That split push echo that we saw coming out of him week 5 or 6 it was. Really like to see ROCCAT regress back to that style.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Steve, when he was playing the carries, looked a lot better. If this Maokai does get locked in, just as a brief aside, we actually saw a tank Nautilus mid earlier today in LPL. Not expecting it from ROCCAT, but I'm just throwing it out there. We've seen it.
Doesn't quite scream Nukeduck to me. I do like the switch from Caitlyn to Kog'Maw, because I feel if you're going to run this triple tank peel composition, then you need some more hyper carry behind that. Protecting Kog'Maw is an old League of Legends strategy. It's a little slower. Kog'Maw can get caught out by the hard engage and a dive from Giants' side. But RallZ has been praised for his positioning.
Who will RallZ get to support him? Janna? Thresh? Where do they look for support?
Well, it is Nautilus already, because the Maokai is locked in top
lane. Thank you.
By process of elimination, we've deduced the...
I got so excited about mid lane Nautilus.
Well,
so,
you may be right. Maybe right.
If Pepi locks in the Varus, then it's Nukeduck that needs to opt into his last champion.
Jace, probably.
For the mid lane. Has not run Jace yet. However, has had it banned against him multiple times.
He could actually go for a Azir and play more of this control, zone control style that you can see. It's another layer of peel and defensive capabilities to aid that Kog'Maw, and it could actually provide to be a nice combination of champions, because then you have the hard engage from the Maokai with Righteous Glory, potential flank with Home Guards. You have really good peel from the Nautilus coming out. Depth charge can go through the entire team and catch PePiiNeRO later on that Varus. However, that Shyvana is what I like. I think it's good that Werlyb is regressing back to that split push style. We saw what teams can do when Steve gets behind, and when you don't let ROCCAT play their group style on the other side of the map, just continuously put pressure, force them into bad decisions. Giants could actually do that with the Shyvana split push.
Giants did that against SK. It's the third time they'll play Shyvana. Werlyb's got pretty decent KDA. 4 kills, 4 deaths, 10 assists on that champion. And for ROCCAT, a control mage at the moment with Viktor, but it's not the Azir that maybe you're thinking.
So yeah, Viktor does well when he has people around him to peel for him. I'm a bigger fan of Viktor in a tank top composition than whether you have another damage dealer right there, because he needs people to keep him alive, because he brings so much raw damage to the table. Obviously specs straight into AP. If you engage and you tunnel on a Viktor and he gets the ulti and the E off, he can do so much AoE damage. So it kind of fits nicely. The only problem ROCCAT has is that they're running 2 carries. Both are low mobility and they're easily sniped by whether it be Varus ulti, Pulverized Flash, Dragon's Descent flanking to an extent. But Body Slam Flash and knocking back is definitely something you have to look for. So the Peel squad, being Steve, Jankos, and Vander, they will have to do their job, and if they do, then ROCCAT can carry.
To see if Giants can be decisive enough in their play style. Yesterday, they just made so many mistakes positionally, and for Giants, they've got to reset their minds.
When you play Shyvana, having Dragon's Descent cancelled is really one of your pain points, and the only champion that can really realistically do that is Steve with his Q, knocking her back, which is hard to time. You could argue that Rek'Sai can unburrow for the easy cancel, but then you obviously have to spend the entire fight in your burrow mode, and then you definitely don't want to do that. So we could see a couple of nice ultimates coming out of Werlyb.
So for Werlyb, Dragon's Descent, we'll see what pressure he can put onto the side of ROCCAT. You know, for both of these teams, this is such an important game.
Yep.
7 and 8. 7 wins, 8 losses for Giants. For ROCCAT, 6 wins, 9 losses. So if ROCCAT pick up a win, they're going to end up tying that head-to-head.
Some nice math there, Trevor.
I know, I'm trying not to do math on stream. It doesn't normally end well for me. Guys, take a look at the 2 team compositions and let us know on Twitter, who do you think will pick up the win? Hashtag GIA win or hashtag ROC win. Everybody's getting quite excited.
Who's a handsome boy?
You are, Krepo, as we jump into the first game of day 2 in week 8.
All right. Let's see if these teams learn from yesterday. Quite a crushing defeat.
Both still vying for those positions in the playoffs. For ROCCAT, it's a little scarier, because if ROCCAT drop this game, let's say SK pull off another upset, if SK pick up a couple more wins, we could see them swapping. We could see ROCCAT falling to the promotion tournament. So scary position.
Obviously no strangers to that tournament, but their goals were playoffs, and they have showed glimmers of brilliancy. But so have Giants. Ward stays alive, thank God. So no more Ward cheers. The Ward war is going on in the top lane too. Everybody's sharing vision. Talk a bit about this lane. Traditionally, Kog'Maw is actually a good pick into Corki, because it's incredibly hard for Corki as a Vander face checks there a little bit to really out-trade him. The range advantage goes well. You kind of start out-poking later because rank 3 on that W from the Kog'Maw really, you know, outranges the Corki. And then once you hit level 6, it gets harder. And Corki kind of needs a range support to build its lane, both with melees. Makes it such an easy lane for Kog'Maw, and he can scale obviously way better than a Corki can later in the game. So MrRallez, we'll have to see if that pans out.
ROCCAT are going back to a team composition they tried many times in spring.
Vander's going to be late to the Grump, maybe? Yeah, he has to start hurrying up if he wants to get to the Grump in time, because Giants are taking the camp on the bot lane. So we might see an experience discrepancy.
We'll see whether or not GODFRED and Adryh can make use of that. Yesterday in the 2v2 versus HCK, it really struggled.
You're a jungler, you're a jungler. Everybody's a jungler when it comes on Giant side. Complete team operation there. PePiiNeRO helped Werlyb with a snipe, Frederick stoling his buff, and the Krugs are going to Adryh and GODFRED. So really, really quick jungle start from the Giants lineup. And then obviously ROCCAT was a little slower, but still make it to lane in time. And this is something that I've seen SKT do a lot. When Marin is playing this Maokai, they get full XP to Steve. He gets level 2, likely has a blue buff too, because Rek'Sai doesn't need that blue buff, and this gives a big lane edge to the Maokai matchup. Now Jankos will be a little bit behind in experience, but he has to catch up. But he knows that Steve is now fine, because Steve can play on his own, spam more spells, get more regen from that passive, so he should get a big lead here, even though Werlyb got level 2 of the Raptors himself.
So a small advantage to ROCCAT. We do see GODFRED has got Flash and Ignite. Yesterday, he was the one that fell prey to the Flash Headbutt Pulverize and the tower. Let's see if GODFRED can make it happen. And just very briefly, last time these teams faced was in week 3, a long time ago. Both teams now struggling with inconsistency as the LCS summer split has rolled on.
Yeah, Alistar lanes are very passive in their nature due to the sustain and disengage properties of the Alistar. However, he has a shotgun with 1 shell. If he can land that pulverized flash and knock somebody in the tower, then he can get a kill, you know, participate in first blood. If he doesn't use that, it's just so even. It looks like ROCCAT's going back to that strategy that we talked about week 5, week 6. Put Steve on some more carry champions and have Jankos buddy up with him. Try and get him advantage in the lane. Even if he doesn't get a gank here, he has this, the counter gank potential is there. You know, if Werlyb oversteps, then we can just zone him out of the lane. This guarantees Steve the first back again. So momentum on the side of Steve.
The exact opposite of yesterday, where Steve was the one that was losing CS and losing the momentum and the support from his team. Frederick is going to get the Scuttle Crab down bottom. I believe he got the one up top as well. So small advantages, whereas Jankos is covering the lane for Steve.
Yeah, notice how he pathed to the right of Scuttle Crab and pushed it back to the left side. If you hit it on the right side, it moves to the left side, because he definitely didn't want to step into that vision too early. Now he steps in. Well, we see some action. So that's exactly what he was avoiding, getting spotted in the river. So first he secured the Scuttle Crab. He went for the gank, but the ward was a little bit too far out for him to definitely close in time. Jankos will now notice that the Scuttle Crab is down. Teams are operating with full information of what's going on the map.
Even start so far. AD's even, mid's even, top's even, and Jankos going to spot out Frederick. Shoot out a Prey Seeker just to signal that he's there. GODFRED and Vander will start trading. So there's the Pulverize. The client's going to connect. Adryh's going to get a few shots off. The heal from GODFRED will pick him up.
That's the problem with Alistar in its current state right now. Using any of your abilities offensively is just not worth it, because they're so much better defensively. Spaced out cooldowns, peeling for your AD carry, and that's why you see very little action usually on his lanes. As we Jankos and Frederick, they're fighting for this Raptor.
Come on, who's going to get it? Jankos, because he had Smite.
That's cheating.
Frederick didn't want to commit to it. Do you briefly want to say, Werlyb Shyvana had a tiny nerf on 513 on that burnout.
Yep.
I believe at this rank it's about 3 damage or 4.
Sure. It was a preemptive nerf to devour Shyvana in the jungle, but Devour just simply doesn't work because it's too slow. You don't have enough pressure on the map. Even though these junglers haven't committed to any kills, they've put pressure. They've showed themselves, hey, I'm here, I'm invading the jungle. GODFRED now gets engaged on.
So there's the Pulverize. A couple free shots from MrRallez. At least keep some form of control, but it's not resulting in CS yet.
Yeah, that bot lane, not too much action going to happen there. So I want to start looking at the mid lane. What we saw yesterday was once Nukeduck hit level 6, he started opening engages. Hey, Jankos, got your buddy. Very even early game. But yeah, Nukeduck, he hit level 6 and he started opening with his ulti on Febiven and honestly forced some bad flashes out of him and some aggression. So will PePiiNeRO do the same in that Varus matchup? Obviously, Nukeduck played Varus so often himself, so both of these players should be masters of the Varus. So it could be an interesting matchup later on. A lot of sidestepping required to dodge these, you know, these arrows from Varus, Viktor E.
Glad you mentioned that, because as it stands, PePiiNeRO's not died on Varus, played it twice. Pretty good stats, 13-0-14 on that champion.
It's 27 KDA.
Good maths, Krepo. Nukeduck will be looking to change those statistics. Yesterday we saw Pick, if memory serves, take a long time to get any real itemization. I want to see how Nukeduck changes it on the patch.
All right, Giants right now are attempting to get some vision on the map. When it's such a slow game, it's sometimes really good to insert some pink wards randomly in enemies' jungle, because they don't really expect that ward to be there. And you want to be as pathing as efficient as you can, so taking that detour to check every little brush very often becomes a burden. You skip that, but if you see Rek'Sai path away from the wolves, as we see some action on the bottom lane here, then again you have information. If you know where he is, you know where he's not is, then you can deduce whether you can make plays on this side of the map, that side of the map, so it's getting revealed a little bit just right here. This is what I'm talking about. That ward, Jankos could check that brush, but if you have to do that every time you pass the brush, you're wasting so much time.
Smart play then from
pink ward here, but he should find out this is the super standard pink ward.
Yep. He's gonna walk over it. Jankos not gonna be able to get red this time round.
That was close.
Neither had Smite actually.
He almost stole it with the Prey Seeker. Takes the pink ward as a consolation prize.
So we have to feel that jungler intervention is going to be necessary for a first blood. Relatively safe-ish lanes across the board. Maybe unless PePiiNeRO makes a big mistake. We did see he's used Ghost, actually. I didn't see where or why.
Probably wanted to dodge Nukeduck, not get closed in there. And yeah, these teams, they're slowly getting comfortable with the state of the game and inserting some deep wards in each other's respective deep red jungles or blue jungles. We saw Steve move in. Obviously, warding close to your lane is nice, but the farther you can get you ward, the better, because the earlier you spot your jungle, you can pinpoint his intentions, see what he's doing. Now, Nukeduck picked up the blue buff. That tells Giants, and okay, Nukeduck didn't soul that blue buff. That means on the right side right now was Jankos. He's going to move likely to the left side because bot lane is not very gankable. So even though you don't see the jungler, you can always deduce where he is if you use that information to your advantage.
A little bit of information in terms of gold, both Adryh and MrRallez in those Triforce 80 carries. 2,300 to 2,400 gold. They've yet to back. That sort of super safe farming lane has continued to play out. No real jungler intervention. As Frederick showed his face for a brief moment.
Perhaps he has a nice vase too, we know that.
To signal that he was there. But yeah, pretty slow and steady. As you mentioned, playoff spots are on the line. And as we came into this game, it's Giants that own the head-to-head. As you said, it was a long time ago where Giants looked a lot stronger in that victory. 10 minutes, only 100 gold separates these teams.
Yeah, both teams are fine with their scaling components, and they're honestly a little afraid to make mistakes. Jankos comes in. Werlyb doesn't know whether he's spotted and getting engaged on or whether that's just a random teleport into the map. That's always a fearsome scream. You never know where, so you're always happy if you can know where Jankos is going with that ultimate, because you hear that, you'll automatically assume there's a tunnel behind me, somebody's ganking me. But then obviously a good sight to see him in the river. This game will likely evolve eventually to a dragon fight. I almost have to imagine Steve has teleport, Werlyb has teleport. Gotta watch for flank wards on both these champions. Definitely very good to get behind the enemy team.
On the top lane, Werlyb has picked himself up that Cutlass. Steve has got Catalyst.
Yeah, Werlyb probably putting more points into burnout here. As he levels up, his dueling potential goes up against Steve. Steve no longer, or doesn't have the magic resistance yet to deal with that AoE. Doesn't have the wave clear first, so the pressure's on the side of Werlyb. The mid lane pressure seems even. Both mid laners stand at max range and just use their abilities to clear. Very spaced bot lane too. Nukeduck looking to harass a little bit, but PePiiNeRO is no stranger to aggression.
PePiiNeRO, of course, the man that we're going to be looking at. Didn't really show up yesterday. He's the man that's going to get ganked. Jankos gets the knockup. Depth charge is going to follow through, and the dredge line secures a kill.
Vander with the dredge dunk to finish that kill off, and that's what you have to do once people get so stagnant and kind of bored of what's going on. You have to open up your support, start roaming, because 2v2 is not working. Jungler can't find an opening to send the level 7 Vander in. We'll see Death Charge is undodgeable, even carries on with the flash. So good opening right there from ROCCAT. Find themselves a first blood, but there's no objective tied to that kill. So while it looks nice, the game stays relatively even. However, ROCCAT can push in their vision control a little more. Look at the pink wards in the middle. Both pixel brushes, as we call them, are pink warded by ROCCAT. So now they can add another layer offensively with green wards if they so choose. Giants' pink wards are slightly more defensive. The entries of the jungle. Frederick is hoping that he's unspotted, so he doesn't want to body slam too far forward. They could see this if they pan over their camera. If they don't, however, they have no idea this is going on. This is actually pretty tricky, so if you have that ward right there, you should probably place it a little more to the left so you can spot into the dragon pit. But they could technically spot this, but no pings are coming out. So,
just too late.
Surprise!
Away the dragon. So, Krepo, ROCCAT secure first blood. This is actually against the norms for them, as they have actually secured the least amount of first bloods of any team in the European LCS. So for Giants picking up the dragon, that is their 9th first dragon, solidly in the upper echelons.
Now, Nukeduck is not running cleanse on Viktor. We see a lot of people do that, so Chain of Corruption from PePiiNeRO could chain beautifully into a gank from Frederick. And that's something they should look for. Get these pink wards on the side, in the mid lane, sneak in their jungle, body slam over the wall, wait for the cooldown, look for the Chain of Corruption, body slam flash, knockback, try and get that Viktor down. So right now,
again, Pepe's Ghost is off cooldown. I think he used it to get back to lane. Pretty sure it's the second time he's done that. Well, confirm in a moment or two. Different usage of the summoner spell.
First time I ran flash and tried to flash into lane, only to realize it didn't go quite as far. Hey, it said where your cursor is. I moved my cursor all the way to the lane. I was like, here I am.
Well, I can't fault the logic.
then I got reported.
Well, a long time ago. You're not in trouble. Frederick's going to spot out the invading members of Jankos and Vander. Going to leave that Bramble back alone.
So Frederick is slowly losing control of his jungle. This is not the first time Jankos has intervened. Found out what he was doing. Look at the level advantage as well. Jankos participated in that kill in the mid lane. Frederick had to back off a couple of times. Adryh, while he's even on CS, being even against a Kog'Maw technically means you're behind. Both of these are working towards a Triforce, and a Kog'Maw on level 6 with Triforce does a whole lot of damage.
So, Vander, you can dodge a hook, but you can't dodge a mine.
Or a range.
Land the anchor, connects with the dredge line as well. Jungler and support via jungler and support. We're going to keep seeing. There's the Unbreakable Will thrown out.
It's a beefy bull.
I'm just going to back away. I believe Frederick got his hands on that red buff, so
yep.
Engage from ROCCAT, nothing comes of it.
Very, very minor fights we see. Very controlled on both sides. Just fighting over these small things like red buffs. Obviously, Dragon is down already. A very hesitant play. 20.1 against 19.9. Very even early game.
Feel scaling is somewhat on the side of ROCCAT. Knowing that Maokai is going to get tanky, Nautilus is going to get tanky, Kog'Maw is going to be able to shred, but you need to avoid the map threat that Shyvana can put into play. I've heard from production Krepo, sorry, that the guys on screen are here for a bachelor party. Absolutely epic if he comes to the LCS for that. High five.
Stag Knight in Berlin. You need a final member. There are people in the cast crew to sacrifice themselves for this noble good. However, we are still playing League of Legends right here. But yeah, you were right. You were talking about scaling. In terms of team fights, definitely ROCCAT scale way better. The one advantage Giants have, if this guy right here, Werlyb, can get out. Vander connects though.
Edge line is going to hold him in place for a moment.
That mobility is what's key for Giants. That split push threat. Getting members to commit to deal with Werlyb. That's what they want to do to open up the map. Giants take down a tower in the bottom lane right now because they have the mid-game spike. They want to group up PePiiNeRO and Adryh together. They want to poke. Get Chain of Corruption on Nukeduck.
PePiiNeRO's burned through his mana pool. Gets the hail of arrows down, but not enough for the kill. Will it be enough for the tower?
He's diveable right now.
Gonna go forward. The explosive cask knocks Nukeduck to the side. It's not over yet. Dredgeline connects onto Frederick. Challenging smite is out. A defensive flash, and the Chaos Storm dunks Frederick where he stands. Flash away, and the heal from Nukeduck will keep him alive, but that's ROCCAT with their second kill.
Last week, it was Vander's Thresh. This week, it's Vander's Nautilus. Hasn't missed a single hook so far. Opening up these opportunities. And honestly, that little play where Frederick body slammed in was actually a mind game. He body slammed in an angle and was telling Nukeduck, hey, if I'm a good jungler, I will body slam flash you right now, so you should flash preemptively. However, Nukeduck didn't call the bluff, stood there. Eventually the cast went wide. Could have been a nice play. We could have seen Nukeduck flashing there defensively.
Hey.
Oh, they lose the blue buff.
So, despite the attempted steal, Adryh gets his hands on it. That's the second buff in a row that ROCCAT have challenged. First was red, second was blue, and both times Giants have been able to secure it.
But look at what Giants is doing with Werlyb right now. He's invading as well. He's counter jungling because they need some pressure for him. Later the Ruined King finished. Werlyb can like 1v1 pretty much anyone on the team right now.
Big items have been completed in the last few minutes. We already saw the Blade of the Ruined King in action for Werlyb. 2 Triforces for the AD carries, and a Luden's Echo for Nukeduck as his first item.
Yeah, you want to send that E through the lane and then let it proc the Luden's proc just to instantly clear those waves from maximum range. Nukeduck just wants to stay safe. No longer has his flash at his disposal. He uses it offensively to secure that kill earlier. But Vander, honestly, has been doing fantastic on his roaming. Gets knocked back, though.
Cast a curse. Vander's going to get taken out by Adryh. MrRallez is going to take a beating from that blue buff Corki. He's zoned away. While that's going on, Werlyb's down on the bottom inner turret.
Yeah, cracks are showing for ROCCAT right here. Bottom lane pressure. Nukeduck's sent to deal with that, so mid lane's exposed. MrRallez can't deal with that. MrRallez out of mana here. Werlyb, obviously, very mobile. Uses the Borg proc to slow somebody down, I believe. Yep, he used it, and then he flashes out for maximum mobility. Now, mid lane's exposed. Double poke showing a PePiiNeRO and Adryh. ROCCAT at the base for mana, so another tower looking to go down for Giants.
Smart
Good
play.
spike.
Gonna highlight exactly that. Trinity Force Blade and some AD for PePiiNeRO. Giants start grouping, and they've secured themselves 3 towers already.
And Giants did what ROCCAT couldn't do yesterday, which is take down a tier 2 tower on the bottom lane. Today, if you look back at what ROCCAT did against Fnatic, and the reason you need that is then you can push in bottom lane all the way and put side pressure on that mid lane turret. This is the way H2K likes to open up the map as well and force the defensive wave clip from ROCCAT away. Giants also force ROCCAT out, so they pick up an easy dragon right here. They're going to look to defend their middle lane tower.
So, second dragon of the game, but will it cost towers? ROCCAT have pushed in the wave up top and will lose the middle tower and have the support from Steve if it was needed.
Yeah, I don't really agree with sacrificing your mid lane turret. So essential to keeping the map alive in your favor. Dragons you can always pick up later. They don't really do that much. Earliest timing here. So Adryh stops Steve's back. It's still going to be like 18 minutes from now for another dragon, for 5 dragons. So that's kind of late for Aspect.
Pepi had actually ghosted to try catch up to Steve as well.
Yeah.
Decided against it at the end of the day. So PePiiNeRO using Ghost to really move around the map more than anything else. As we're getting closer to 20 minutes, Giants have 1 tower more, 2 dragons more, and currently marginally in the gold lead.
And Steve got his Frozen Heart already, so he wants to armor up against that offensive poke from PePiiNeRO. Later on, deals with some mixed damage from Werlyb. However, I feel the brunt of the damage should be Magic from that Blade of the Ring King Shyvana, so still won't be able to duel Werlyb all that well, 1v1.
To go all the way back to your picks and bans discussion regarding the Dragon's Descent, every time we've seen Werlyb, he's using Shyvana as a full split push power.
Yeah, he should.
The moment people come to apply pressure, he backs away and look instantly the rest of Giants pushing into ROCCAT's jungle.
Yeah, and I like the flash on him as well. Smite Shyvana is nice because you can counter jungle and all and everything, and it sounds okay, but I would really like having the flash for an additional escape, also for repositioning in fights. You can angle yourself instant Dragon's Descent, so you make it impossible for people to cancel you. Just a lot of options, but we need more pressure from Werlyb because he's step number 1. Put pressure, draw members away from ROCCAT, and then Giants can swoop in, take some more towers.
Minion wave slowly pushing towards ROCCAT in the bottom half of the map, but there's no inner turret to take. So I'd like to see maybe swapping around a little, trying to take that top outer turret. Werlyb as it stands 2 levels above Steve. Yep. And 20 CS. And
this is where a lot of teams kind of struggle in this mid game when all these tier 1 towers are down. Look at the damage though. Werlyb definitely having the better end of this trade right here. But this mid game where the tier 1 towers are falling, most European LCS teams don't really know what to do. And that is exactly the thing that Fnatic as a team like to abuse. Say, okay, fine, you have a lead, that's fine, we made a mistake. But our mid game is so good, so tempered, and we know how to pick our fights and our objectives that it doesn't matter what you do up until this point. You see that in the gold as well, completely even again. But ROCCAT, they're scaling for these late game team fights.
As long as Nukeduck can wave clear, stall this out a little more, get more power, ROCCAT have a chance to come back. As it stands, Werlyb and GODFRED, they're going to double team. That's a headbutt pulverize onto Steve. Tower still being dropped. Here comes Jankos to join the fight with that Void Rush. Now GODFRED's on the wrong side of the tower. Unbreakable will it be enough to be broken? Depth charge gonna pop. This is a very drawn out fight. Unbreakable's about to time out. Chain of Corruption has connected from PePiiNeRO. He's gonna throw out the piercing arrow and Vander stays alive. We did see Adryh pushing out that middle lane, so teleport used from Steve, top tower defended.
And that's what Giants want to do. They want to draw aggro somewhere and leave another part of the map exposed. Luckily for ROCCAT, Steve held on to his teleports mid, so not much changes. GODFRED sacrifices himself as he bases, or gets forced to base. He has to pick up the talisman. A lot of mobility on Giants. They want to Zerg in, pretty much. They want to poke, 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 and then pull the trigger. Let's watch that again. But we see how tanky Steve is getting right now. It's not enough for Werlyb. It takes a long time to duel. Jankos, this tunnel probably should have been cleared before they went for that play, giving easy access point for Jankos. And leaving GODFRED behind. Good focus, even though he's an unbreakable will. Vander is not going for GODFRED. He knows he's CC'd anyway, so he goes for the zoning depth charge. Then another fantastic hook, honestly. And then this Calculato.
Calculato, indeed. Vander showing up second week in a row. PePiiNeRO didn't actually mention it earlier, but with that first blood being given up, that was his first death on Varus in 3 games. Yet to pick up a kill, but he's got a lot of damage to play with. With the Whisper and Brutalizer, with the exception of Steve and maybe a little bit of Jankos.
And Pepi's still scaling very well here with the armor penetration. In his first percent armor pen and then the flat amount afterwards. Used to be the other way around, so poke will still hurt. Adryh will kind of fall off because after a Triforce, your consecutive items really don't synergize that well with each other. Whereas MrRallez kind of has the same problem, but any item he builds with attack speed scales better with his passive.
So Werlyb, he's found a target. Dragon's Descent aggressively looking forward for MrRallez. We did see that Blade of the Ruined King, but it will not be enough. PePiiNeRO's in the top lane, taking the tower out. So nobody's died yet. Living Artillery being spammed by MrRallez to try and find the Giants. But PePiiNeRO's decided to back away, has not continued pushing top.
He could though. PePiiNeRO could definitely keep pushing because the wave clear is alive on Giants' side. Dragon's up in 40 seconds. So Giants, they're showing their priorities right here. That fleet isn't necessarily a mistake from PePiiNeRO, but they say we value our third dragon more than the opportunity to take the tier 2 tower because they are playing for aspect because they know eventually they'll get outscaled. So let's see if that translates in their next map moves. Obviously ROCCAT, they use resources on that push, so they also have to base. So now it's a race for vision around the dragon area.
Giants for the time being playing the map relatively well. However, it's not equated into a very large lead. 25 minutes up. There's the dragon. Jankos will be nearby for the fight, but he's welcomed by a fully charged piercing arrow, and that's hurting.
Both teams a little bit late for the dragon party. Both forgot about Drake to an extent. So now they're trying to fight over mid lane control. That's always step one, what you want to have. Once mid lane pushes in, you get free vision deep, and you see how many champions are there. Then you can go to the side and get for vision. But Frederick,
oh, that's a lot of damage. Steve has engaged this one a tad early. Teleport's coming out from Werlyb, and he does have a fully charged Descent. Chain of Corruption will not spread.
A good poke by Nukeduck.
To all of ROCCAT. Nukeduck is putting those death rays out. Werlyb,
he canceled his teleport. And then flanks from right. This is what you want to do with Shyvana. Always flank. Never come from the same side as your team. Pressure them into the Alistar. Try and pincer right now. This is what Giants want to do. Giants want to pincer.
PePiiNeRO's caught! He's gonna go down! MrRallez gets a kill credit. Werlyb looks to reply. They've traded 1-for-1 and Adryh's velked in aggressively, but now he's left for dead. Frederick's going in solo on the side. Giants, this is a little messy. Can they save it? The rockets flying from Adryh, but he's run out of mana. We did see Werlyb going low. Werlyb's in the thick of it, but Adryh is trying to clean up. Everybody's dying, and in the end, GODFRED's the last man standing for Giants. A 4-for-3 as the cows trying to get away.
Both teams with the right idea how to take that fight. ROCCAT, they know they have to pincer. Right side Shyvana, left side the Alistar. And how do you beat a pincer? You engage on the weak side. You don't let yourself get clawed in. That's what you want to do. Good opening by ROCCAT because they knew if they waited 5 more seconds here, Vander catches PePiiNeRO, flash W from Steve. Honestly, this is a mistake by PePiiNeRO. It should never happen because look at what's happening on the right side. What Werlyb? He just one-shots MrRallez. Praised so often for his positioning. And keep your eyes on Adryh in this fight. He's very hesitant. Could land a lot more auto attacks if he does come in because his team is tanking damage for him, but he's just not doing too much now. Steve flashes over. They go down. Even trade all around, but this could have been a very, very brutal fight for Giants should PePiiNeRO survive that earlier stage of the fight, because that pincer is definitely what you want to do. You're not in late game just yet. Steve can still drop immediately.
So ROCCAT may get their hands on this first dragon unless it can be stolen. El Bandito's nearby. Body slams available. El Bandito does not decide to pull the trigger.
Yeah, no synergy what we saw yesterday. We saw those snipe combos come out. You know, jungler dashes over the wall in unison with a Varus Q. Then Smite tagged up together and left it impossible for Reignover yesterday to counter smite that one. Wasn't quite the case just now because Frederick had no escape mechanism. He couldn't get back over the wall. So El Bandito wasn't ready to give up his life for the steal.
Disappointing. I expected more.
I expected more.
I've seen the wanted posters. It led me to believe he could do it.
Very interesting itemization here too. Steve is specking into more mobility. Well, I'd call it good itemization honestly, because you just want to be able to close the gap, especially on PePiiNeRO. You know, get that Righteous Glory out. When he's poking at the side and he feels safe at a certain distance, close that gap. Immediately pop that Righteous Glory for your team. Steve will also be looking for flanks.
Well, Steve, despite being down in CS, those home guard boots, the teleport available, going to be able to find the targets.
Just like the Prey Seeker finds PePiiNeRO.
Yep, grappling hook interrupted. Adryh also finished his Blade of the Ruined King, picked himself up another longsword, but look at the positioning. It's ROCCAT trying to get control of mid lane.
Let's see what ROCCAT's doing right here. They're putting Nukeduck in the middle lane, so he wants to wait to keep that lane even. MrRallez played split push duty until the point where he felt safe, so ROCCAT just set up a slow push in the top lane, I believe, unless that wave bounces back. Can't quite tell from the minimap here. He's picking up red buff. Scuttle Crab obviously is in Giants' favor, so that war for vision control goes on, and the one thing that will break that eventually is the split push. Giants Werlyb against ROCCAT Steve is something you want to keep your eyes on. Now that Steve has picked up some magic resistance, this duo may start changing a little bit. Blade of the Ruined King's magic damage, Burnout magic damage, Sunfire Cape, all magic damage. So Spectre's Cow, triple value on that item.
The one thing it is true though, is when we saw Werlyb get onto MrRallez, he almost insta-gibbed him. If MrRallez is out of position against this Werlyb, who's nearly level 18, that's a scary threat.
If he goes short, hang on, Vander connects.
The explosive caster is going to split, and they've managed to pick up a kill on Vander, but the damage threats are still alive. Vander's going to be late.
The split push.
MrRallez will be late. Frederick forced away. Giants are in retreat. Werlyb has got full charge on Dragon's Descent. MrRallez is still looking for that fight. I believe he's got red buff as well. So fight on two fronts.
Yeah, as RALEZ gets stronger though, he can kite Werlyb, unless Werlyb jumps over RALEZ, free Willy almost, and then lands down. The Flames, you know, get RALEZ one shot, then RALEZ can kite. Blade Ruin King to slow Triforce every auto a little quicker. Zeal picked up now too, attack speed boost. A lot of potential health.
GODFRED is looking for a target, but he's just been chunked down. The Death Ray and Siphon Power disintegrated his HP. Werlyb did teleport in for this one, so Summoner Spell used. We did see Steve TPing in earlier, so they've evened that out.
Okay, got the reminder from Deficio. Blade Ruin King is in fact physical damage. I believe it was magic in the past. Could be wrong there. So that double value on the Spectre's Cow. I lied to you guys. I'm terribly sorry for lying. So we see that split push that from Werlyb coming out. And it puts pressure. It forces ROCCAT into moves that they feel this is an opening. And for Vander, that was a red light in, but good disengage. And this is why Gragas is such a good disengaged jungler. Because if somebody goes in, you put the barrel right behind them. And anybody following up on that engage gets knocked back. But the guy actually engaging gets knocked into your team. And Vander, he couldn't press R for extra tankiness. Not unbreakable at all. He broke.
The thing is, despite the fact Giants are trying the split push, and despite the fact they've been relatively successful, it's not equated to big league. We're still only 1,000 gold up. It feels like Giants have the theory down, but the practice is just a little short of where it needs to be.
They do have the pressure advantage, and if they want to win, they will need additional stats. To acquire those, they will need the Baron, so they'll need to pressure ROCCAT in, force him to take either a face check, or just take that objective down. Shyvana, once she connects with Baron, with the double AD carry setup, they can do that very, very quickly. However, if you want to do that Baron, you kind of want to have Shyvana at the other side of the map. So without the teleport, it's going to be tricky to secure that objective. And honestly, ROCCAT have been doing a phenomenal job keeping the vision control at least sufficient.
It's not been caught out yet.
Does it get old? Does it now?
I have to admit, I don't think it does. But yes, full party Rek'Sai and a jet ski to lane. 5v5 potentially in the mid lane. Teams are setting up. And you can see fairly deep wards in the top half of the jungle from Giants into ROCCAT's jungle. A couple of tunnels around, not a great tunnel network, and a big minion wave pushing for ROCCAT.
Nobody pushing it in. Nukeduck can quickly move over there. 1E is enough to clean it. He's obviously wary of the Baron start. This is goodbye Giants. Don't start it because you know ROCCAT will come and check anyways. Scrying Orb reveals himself. Always awkward. It's like somebody opens the door when you're standing there naked. It's like, no, go away, please.
And Giants did. Vander's now looking for more. He's already hooked onto Werlyb. Take a look at Adryh's positioning. He's going to come in from the sideline. A defensive Dragon's Descent from Werlyb as the cast was also thrown to split ROCCAT apart.
Choke points are dangerous.
Root catches onto Frederick. Adryh's not relying on autos, but spamming out that missile barrage. Balks in aggressively. Not sure that was the right call. MrRallez right-clicks for the kill. The headbutt away from GODFRED. Frederick's in retreat, and Pepi is trying to chunk down MrRallez. Flash away from the Kog'Maw. The Caterpillar lives to fight another day. And finally, Nukeduck gets another kill before GODFRED is pulled back. Adryh, why?
You don't want to do that against ROCCAT. They have years of experience from playing with Wulai to see exactly what happens if your AD carry flashes in aggressively. Big mistake from Giants. ROCCAT looking to take up the Baron here. Constellation inhibitor perhaps for Werlyb, but big mistake. Unless you have a Chrono Breaker, don't do that.
Not gonna work out. Werlyb is not continue to push the middle lane. Instead, they want to peel back for the Dragon. Baron secured at 32 minutes for ROCCAT. This should slow down this split push threat. Yeah,
very weird turn of events right here. However, Giants, they keep the Aspect Dream alive. Third Dragon right here. Well on their way for full Khaleesi. Let's watch that again. But Werlyb, he wants to engage, but once he goes low enough, he opts out for the defensive Dragon's Descent. He waits for all the stuff that could cancel him to get used. Look how he waited for Death Shards to be used, then he goes out because he's counting his HP. And look at the poke. This is why you never go to a choke point against the poke opposition.
Whoa, sorry to cut you off,
here.
Krepo. Werlyb's now been caught out. Chaos Storm is burning down. There is a flash, but it won't be enough. Siphon power for another.
Yeah, Werlyb lingered around after that dragon to initiate a split push on the right side to buy time. That's what you want to do before Baron buffed enemy teams siege you in. You just want to break out with one wave, get it away from them so they can't push. However, find themselves caught here. They did use Righteous Glory, so that means Adryh stays alive there. But against the Pokemon, Baron buff is so good because their immediate wave clear disappears. With a Pokemon, Baron buff is so good as well. And look at how quickly ROCCAT can zone out Giants here. Because Werlyb is down, no flank threats at all. No wave clear. And it just melts.
And the threat of the Flash W Maokai. Too great to deal with. So ROCCAT not only get Baron, they get an inhibitor as well.
And look at the bot wave. That's what Werlyb was looking at. He wanted to stop that from happening. He didn't want to get ROCCAT for phase 2 of a split push or just hard push. But look at that massive wave. All those creeps are going to get buffed by the new Baron buff. If you can add a Banner of Command in there, then you have the dream.
Maybe one of them will add it soon enough. For the time being, ROCCAT don't need it.
Oh, Aegis actually. On either side.
Comes up for Maokai.
Quite surprising, honestly, in this meta. Having Jankos go for the Spectre Scout defensively. In my opinion, going for the Aegis to lock it, probably a better choice here for your team. Rek'Sai is tanky enough on his own, on her own rather.
Well, Giants looking to engage. ROCCAT happy to back away, throwing out those death rays as they do. Empowered recalls as Giants continue to pressure a lane, but the Super's in their base shortly.
So that's, we'll see. That Boo Boo will need a band-aid. See who bases to deal with that minion wave. It will be PePiiNeRO. Looking at the items though, this is why Kog'Maw is just such a good late game carry. He can build Triforce, and even though the next following items don't synergize that well with Triforce, they do with your passive, your W, percent HP damage. Another percent HP damage from Blade of the Ruined King, Phantom Dancer, more attack speed, more movement speed, and then it's now building towards the Last Whisper. So MrRallez is building up quite well, and only died once so far. So definitely good positioning from him. Unlike Adryh on the other side that he wanted the highlight, he wanted a hashtag LCS big play, but just didn't quite get there.
Well, Adryh's Gatling Cannon is a whole lot of ammo to work with. But ROCCAT in the lead as far as gold is concerned for the first time this game, or in a long time rather.
Look at the wards on the bottom side of the map.
Better to be said. And also, if you look at this, this could be the first time that Giants have lost a game when getting 3 dragons. They're starting to fall behind. And with Baron now worn off and Supers down the middle lane, ROCCAT, they can play the side lanes if they want to.
Yeah, and you're looking at the gold graph, you would honestly expect these to be kind of mirrored. Giants usually get behind and then find that magical opportunity to come back into the game. ROCCAT usually is ahead and then loses the game. This time it was different. ROCCAT was behind. They found the opening. Good patient play by them. They said, okay, we're fighting a split push threat. Let's not overcommit to it. Stay in the mid lane, get those wards out. Just hang on.
After a year of watching ROCCAT, Krepo, I think they're a pretty patient team.
Patience is a virtue.
Good.
Steve
is Steve.
ROCCAT goes in.
Go in. ROCCAT are now split a little bit. We do see Werlyb diving in with Dragon's Descent, but the Chaos Storm is destroying Giants. Werlyb will be the next to fall. Another kill credit to Vander. And ROCCAT, despite looking like they were engaged on, get 2.
That's what we were talking about in Champs League. The raw amount of damage on Viktor and Kog'Maw is enough to play with 2 carries. It allows you to build 3 peel champions around that, and you can chase into a Viktor, walking into his E, walking into that Chaos Storm. Can be destructive for your team. And Werlyb and Frederick, they found out the hard way. Good engage. They knocked Viktor back. He flashed out. Wasn't enough.
The scaling team fight power that ROCCAT can put on the map is fully activated. Steve, with those tiny football legs, running across the field. Home guard teleport will secure another inhibitor. And look at the damage onto Adryh. 1 death ray and siphon. Another inhibitor secured.
Yeah. If there doesn't get a metaphorical arrow to the knee, PePiiNeRO, then it does look like ROCCAT are in prime position to close out this game. 2 inhibs down right now. Push that again. The engage. PePiiNeRO is caught in the middle. Nukeduck flanks, gets comboed, knocked back. We'd expect him to die here, but he goes out and now he's going to lay down a Chaos Stroke. AoE damage. MrRallez untouched, by the way. Even if they get Nukeduck, it doesn't matter. MrRallez is one of the primary threats right here. You really want to get to him. Steve, Vander, and Jankos are just tanky enough to survive, to peel. Just throw themselves in front of those skill shots. Block as many body slams as you can. You know, soak up as much damage from Adryh. Honestly, that doesn't scale that well. All his items do kind of different things, honestly. That's the nature of Corki. You want to hit that early game, get that wave clear, free up your support to roam. Get advantage that way. It just didn't quite happen. Honestly, Vander was the one roaming way more than GODFRED this game. He's honestly getting more comfortable. He's taking a dip, in my opinion, in performance to start his split, even last split. But right now, Vander's getting stronger and stronger again, and he has a very, very high skill ceiling as a support. It's good to see that come out again.
I share that sentiment, Krepo. ROCCAT going to delay any threat of Aspect from Giants by securing their second Dragon of the game. 40 minutes is fast approaching, a 3,000 gold lead for ROCCAT. Super's up top, exposed in hip middle. I think the safe play to look to finish would be to get the next Baron. Up in 20 seconds, ROCCAT can either force another team fight, which they've won handily multiple times, or they get an uncontested Baron. So options here for ROCCAT.
Both teams are realizing that that's the threat right now. The Barons, Giants clear division. They're hoping for base check, but Prey Seeker and Tremor Sense, it's so hard to react to that because the second you move in that rush, you're spotted. So Giants had the right idea to counter this. They got some wards in, but obviously ROCCAT know that tempered aggression is the name of the game right now. They're going to clear that vision, push out the lanes, very likely, and then resort back to the Baron. And if Giants commit too much to the left side, to posture around there, their mid lane will be exposed too. Vander, he's fishing.
Not going to catch anything today. Does have a Randian's Omen if he can get close enough, and the super minions are getting closer and closer to the steps of Giants' base. In terms of your itemization, we're hitting a late game Nukeduck here, Krepo. 820 ability power with these brand new 513 items.
Yeah, and he can obviously, the new Raven's Death Cap, more AP scaling, so should you hit that as a third item, he's working towards Void Staff, so that's going to be another big spike for him right now. And yeah, that means he's scaling so well with his abilities.
Yeah, I just quickly took a look at the numbers. New Death Cap is providing plus 203 AP with that 35%. ROCCAT are playing Death Push, Krepo.
Yeah,
that might be the death of Giants.
Here we go, Steve's going in, Righteous Glory.
Who is he going to find? The cask is going to get dodged by the W, PePiiNeRO. He's going to need that Chain of Corruption for disengage. Here comes Werlyb, the Half Dragon Lady. Will the power be enough? Piercing arrows are chunking down ROCCAT, and with Steve low, they've backed out.
ROCCAT opt in for the engage, go to the closest target, then realize we're not quite getting anywhere here. Don't want to get counter-engaged by Werlyb, because look at your top waves, look at your bot waves. Time is in ROCCAT's favor. This is the moment of the game where very often teams will go for a panic Baron, start a bad fight and lose it straight up. Giants will have to do one of those. Go for a fight, go for a wave clear. What are they going to do?
Two things I want to mention about ROCCAT. Number one, they started the fight. Good for trying. Number two, they backed away safely. Good for reading the situation. Not something I've praised ROCCAT for all split long.
And MrRallez, most importantly, didn't flash in aggressively. Still has that summoner spell available. So those are the tools you're looking for. Nukeduck flash, Rallez flash. They have them defensively. Peel, depth charge coming back up. Steve, obviously, full throttle. And look at that. One Nexus Tower under siege right now. TP is up on Werlyb, so he's the chosen defender, but that Nexus Tower is going low.
Steve and the rest of ROCCAT going to push. Nexus Tower's going to drop. Super minions have already secured a tower. Werlyb still has TP available. The rest of ROCCAT now peeling back. Vision lacking on both sides around the pit.
But good adaptation from Giants. Double Crying Orb. Scrying Orb. Here we go. We're going in.
So Frederick is going to be the man that gets caught by the depth charge. GODFRED is being zoned away by the Death Ray and the Siphon Power. The fight has come back to the middle as it's MrRallez that's dropped Frederick. TP comes in from Werlyb. He's going to be able to secure a kill on the support, and he's going to have the Dragon's Descent away. The giant tree of Steve. He's chasing and running and rooting. Chain of Corruption will hold MrRallez, but it's simply not enough. ROCCAT win yet another team fight.
Yeah, in this late game arms race, Nukeduck and Rallez just do too much damage. Frederick is the first one to drop. PePiiNeRO eventually gets chased down. GODFRED peeled as well as he could. But there's just not enough damage on Giant's side to tear through these tanks. And even if they want to step through it, they walk straight into the damage from Nukeduck and MrRallez. So they need that flank we were talking about earlier. The only fights they've won were the flanks. Let's see this again. Death Charge on the jungler. They don't even have to find the squishies. They can tear through the front line. Look at GODFRED. He's going to pulverize Nukeduck, but he's asking himself, where do I knock this guy? I don't know. Like, okay, I'm out. And then eventually Werlyb comes in, but too much CC. He has to hold until he can drag his head out defensively. If he could flank in, imagine if you could land on Nukeduck and MrRallez from the side. That's the opening they're looking for, but ROCCAT, they're not allowing that. Good flank control in terms of vision. They always peel back until they see Werlyb, then they go aggressive. So good control by this ROCCAT lineup.
ROCCAT going to start off this Baron. If MrRallez can get some hits, it will get shredded with that Infinity Edge Phantom Dancer. Werlyb once more has access to his ultimate. Baron is already down, secured by ROCCAT. Godfred's gone in for the knockup, and Werlyb's trying to chase MrRallez down. It's a battle of the beast, as it's Werlyb that gets a kill on MrRallez. He turns his attention to Nukeduck. The Catherine Surprise will hurt, but it's Adryh that gets a kill onto Nukeduck. ROCCAT will win the fight with their uber tanks, and it's all on PePiiNeRO to defend.
2 Baron buffs denied, however. PePiiNeRO wasn't there, but we see the power of Werlyb. If he can connect that ulti, hopefully Giants will learn from that. The gold is still close, 4,000 in the difference. Werlyb has enough damage if these flashes are down. There's no Locket, no Aegis to buff the MR on Nukeduck and MrRallez so they can get assassinated ever so quickly. Triforce picked up instead of the Last Whisper as well on MrRallez, so he's not wanting to shred any armor, he just wants the crits.
PePiiNeRO is going to have to do a monstrous job. If ROCCAT commit for the Nexus turret, there's only one standing.
Godfred's block, that's good.
Get the block, the Chain of Corruption comes out. There's the root onto PePiiNeRO. He has Ghost available, has used it. Jankos and Steve trying to zone him out. Challenging Smite. Godfred with another Pulverize. Defensive players. Pepe's going to make it to the bottom inhibitor. Top inhibitor is respawned. The Baron empowered minions will not make it to the turret. Pepe has let Giants live for another day.
Yeah, for how grim this was looking. Baron about to go down to ROCCAT. They denied 2 key members. Get the kills. Let's watch this again. Keep your eyes on Werlyb. Eventually he's going to dash in aggressively, get to MrRallez. Look how quickly MrRallez is dropping here. Follow up Cask as well. Fredric's going in. And Adryh again with the aggressive flash. One could argue if this was necessary. Yes, you get Viktor, but trading yourself 1-for-1. Dying Viktor that was stuck in the back, perhaps not the wisest decision. But all in all, 2 Baron buffs denied, push denied, 1 inhibitor still alive. The easiest one to defend as well. Middle lane is, at this point of the game, very easy to defend. But look for the flanks. No teleport on Werlyb.
So I don't necessarily like the lack of Last Whisper from MrRallez. He's picked himself up a Negatron Cloak, but with Void Staff now completed for Nukeduck, he's up to 880 ability power. ROCCAT onto the Dragon. This could be number 3. Dredge line, rather. Root comes out from Steve. There's the Dredge line onto Godfred Frederick.
Look at the flank. Werlyb's at the top.
Well, can Werlyb find MrRallez? He's on him now. Dragons descend forwards. But look at the shield. MrRallez stays alive. He manages to take out Werlyb. You don't need Last Whisper when you're only 1-on-4. Giants in retreat. They've lost their 2 frontline champions. Vander have the tools.
Vander did a phenomenal job peeling right there. He turned around, saw Werlyb come in time, and the flank just didn't quite connect.
Well, Vander's once again going to find a target. Adryh is dropped with 3 Giants down. ROCCATs have the numbers advantage, the minion advantage. They're going to go for the Nexus.
And ROCCAT looking to tie Giants here, I believe, in the standings. Late season surge by ROCCAT.
ROCCAT tying in the standings, tying in the head-to-head, and ROCCAT keep their playoff hopes alive. Standing tall off that performance from MrRallez Kog'Maw. Nukeduck showing up on Viktor.
This time, patience played in their favor. It used to be the death for them. Always waiting, ROCCAT, but this time they had the scaling advantage, they had the teamfight advantage. They learned from their mistakes, they let themselves get flanked once, didn't happen again. And eventually they played a fight and forced Giants into a mistake. Adryh, let's call it what it is, aggressive mistake flash. 3 members dropped in that exchange, Baron dropped in that exchange, and suddenly the game went from what was a completely even matchup, heavily favored into the side of ROCCAT.
Just really like what Giants were doing early. Unfortunately, late game decisions didn't work out. There's the dapper Yamato going to be happy with that win, and also happy that now Yamato...
He's their biggest fan.
Tied for 4th with Giants. The head-to-head is even at 1-1, which means they could be playing for that all-important tiebreaker.
Yep.
At the end of the split, at the end of next week.
And it is week 9 right now, or week 8 in European LCS. Week 9 is next week, obviously, and you can feel the tension in the games. Both these teams very hesitant. The biggest fight we saw was who's going to get this blue buff, who's going to get this red buff. And eventually, once they felt comfortable, they started overextending a little more. Step 1, some deep wards in the jungle. Step 2, sieging up these towers. Both were okay with their mid game. Giants more so than ROCCAT, but ROCCAT, they held on. Honestly, and if you would have gone back to week 2 and 3 and you said ROCCAT were playing a Viktor Kog'Maw double carry composition, we said, well, they're roast, you know, they'll get the late game and just get engaged on flanks upon, but their shot calling, vision control was sufficient to keep the Giants at bay, and honestly was enough.
Managed to handle Werlyb's pressure because there was a large amount in the early to mid game.
Yep.
Within the first 25 minutes, Werlyb was onto inhibitor turret by 30, but unfortunately for Giants, they didn't have all the other pieces of that split push in action. So props to ROCCAT, as I mentioned, 7 and 9. For ROCCAT, they've got to play Copenhagen Wolves and Origin, 2 tough game, well, 1 tough game, 1 less tough game. And if they get their hands on some of these comfort picks, Vander's Nautilus was fantastic once more.
Yeah, his roaming definitely was kind of what separated this both teams in terms of passiveness in the early game. He found some opportunities to get some flashes burned, some kills made. And props to MrRallez too for surviving, because as a Kog'Maw, in these lanes where Corki can dash in aggressively on you, you have the pulverized flash threat from GODFRED. He survived long enough, only died once, I believe, or once or twice in this game. Definitely good showing from him, and he's becoming the seasoned AD carry that people expected him to be, because he wasn't always that, you know, he had to struggle with the MYM roster with those issues. But now he's shining bright like a diamond.
Krepo, if we step back and we look at Giants, they had this fantastic opening to Summer Split. Nobody expected them to even make it out of the promo tournament. We look at ROCCAT, who've had expectation for well over a year, and truthfully have failed to deliver for most of it. They're now tied in 4th. How on earth can the European LCS be so compressed?
I don't know. I'm sure there are analysts somewhere that can talk about that.
Well, I'm going to have to ask them at the analyst desk to figure out how ROCCAT